Acadia After Dark is a horror podcast, and as such, may not be appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome back to the Acadia After Dark podcast, folks. I'm your host, the Reverend Redbeard, and this week I'm joined by my good friend Brian of the ZombPocalypse podcast. He had me on his show about a month or so ago, and we had a pretty good conversation. So I decided we would bring it on over here and continue that talk. Brian, how you doing today, man?
Good. Thank you for having me on. I'm super stoked to be on your show, and I want to thank you for coming onto mine. If you guys would like to see what we talked about, you can always go on to my neck of the woods, the zombie side of the woods, on ZombPocalypse podcast, and you see a 2-part episode when I talked to Reverend Redbeard. It was a wonderful episode that we both talked about, and it's actually it's going to be a new series that I really wanted to do. For the podcast is going to be called ZombPocalypse The Unknown series, which going to be delving in pretty much what Reverend Redbeard is going to be doing, like talk about the unknown, spirits and ghosts and cryptids and all that good stuff, because I would like to thank him for reigniting the love of my love for the cryptids and the unknown and stuff like that. It's just super amazing just to talk about it and just reigniting my love for the unknown and stuff like that. It's just super exciting just to like dive back in instead of like talking about zombies and stuff. Don't get me wrong, I love zombies, but I think it's just take a little break here and there, you know?
Yeah, it's nice to mix things up, give yourself plenty of options. That's awesome. I'm super glad that you had such a good time with that conversation that kind of inspired you to do branch out a little more. That's super awesome. And that's not to say, that your zombie content is pretty friggin' awesome. I gotta say, listening to, the different scenarios and the conversations that you have and stuff like that is really cool. I do enjoy that. So, why don't you tell the audience, give them a little synopsis about your background and then how you got started in your podcast.
Well, I started it's going to be a year next month, honestly. I've been doing this podcasting for a year, and I want to do something about zombies because I've been like into the zombie world since I was a child because of my dad. We watched Night of the Living Dead, which is by George Romero, and it was a black and white version. And he knew that I was into horror movies, and he's like, "Hey, Brian, check this out." So he put in Night of the Living Dead, and we watched it. I'm just like, this is quite amazing. This is different from werewolves, vampires, and monsters and stuff. This is a new type of genre that I've been introduced to.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I just like, wow, I just want to know more about zombies. And one thing that really fully 100% cemented my love for zombies is Resident Evil. Now, I played Resident Evil 3, and it's just like I played the shit out of that game. But first thing I got introduced by Resident Evil was Resident Evil 1 when I was over at my dad's friend's house. His son was playing Resident Evil 1. And I was watching him play it. I'm like, oh, hey, his name was Nate. I was like, hey, Nate, what you doing? He's like, oh, I'm playing Resident Evil. So on the PS1. And I was watching him, and he's like, and then my dad's friend's like, hey, do the thing. And I'm like, what thing? He went up to the door in the mansion. He opened it up the door, And the
yeah.
fucking dog came like, I'm like, holy motherfucking shit. I didn't say that, but I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. That's that. I think that was actually probably one of my first like horror gaming moments myself, to where I was like, holy shit, this is something special. And I was hooked from then on. It never went away.
Hell yeah, man. So I really thank my dad and Nate for cementing my love for zombies. But throughout the years, I tried to write short stories, but I never finished them because I felt it wasn't good enough. I felt like it was too little details, too much detail. I felt like the plot wasn't going anywhere. So I wrote a whole bunch of stories, but I never really finished them because I just felt like it just wasn't enough. I just felt like, I guess I just second guessed myself at how good it wasn't. I just thought about like, oh, it's not good enough and whatever, whatnot. And it's just like, it needs to be something better,
Sure.
And I compared myself to other authors out there like Stephen King and, of course, like the director George Romero. I'm like, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough to be a writer or screenwriter or whatever. And I just and I stopped. And recently, I want to talk about like something like survival or like about zombies, like talking about survival, about the zombies and shit like that.
Sure.
So I started doing podcasting, but I didn't publish my first episode until a year later. It took me over a year.
Wow.
To publish my first episode. I recorded like close to 10 episodes and I edited them. I've listened to them and the quality was garbage. I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. So I'm like, I talked to a couple of creators through God, I forgot what's that one streaming services. Twitch. Yeah, Twitch.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah, Twitch.
And
I was talking to someone and I was talking to her. I was like, hey, I want to do a podcast, but I'm so afraid to publish my own stuff. She's like, in order for you to get over your fear, you need to just say fuck it and do it.
Right.
So I'm like, you're right. I need to get over my fear, get off of my own ass, and just say fuck it and do it. If it's successful, then it's successful. And it's not, and it's not. So
I feel that.
So I just did it. So the person who did it was called Rainbow Cosplay. She is Mr. Creepypasta's wife, and they do stream together here and there. And I do want to thank her for helping me to get over my fear and just say fuck it and do it.
That's awesome. I mean, hey, it seems like a year later, you've kind of started to find your footing, I'd say. I mean, you've been doing it longer than me. Because
really?
you had a whole, I mean, I've been doing radio for a long time, but I haven't done podcasting except for like 6 months ago. So this show started in October. Which, almost happy 6 months. But
happy 6 months, dude.
But the whole thing with that is like I had a lot of that same apprehension that you did, is that I was like, either A, I didn't feel like it would be good enough content that people would want to listen to it, or B, I didn't think that it was like I would have the time, or like how would I build it or stuff. And I think it's kind of that sort of like imposter syndrome, where you kind of always second guess yourself at a certain point, which in a way is kind of a good thing because it shows some self-awareness. You're not going to be just like a guy that's just going to blast into things. Having a whole year of planning and writing and stuff before you even started really producing your content, I think it actually probably helped you, because then you started out like already having figured out some of that and retooled yourself. Looking back on even just what I've done with Acadia After Dark and stuff, it's like probably the first 10 episodes of Acadia After Dark I would have done entirely differently if I knew then what I knew now. And,
right.
Writing ahead is a good thing, because I realized that's why I was like, I need to produce everything and write it ahead of time, record it ahead of time, give myself a chance to kind of sit with it for a little bit before I release it to the world. So yeah, it sounds like you kind of figured out a lot of that stuff. So I expect a lot of good things from you with what you've been doing with your podcast. So one thing that, because zombies is definitely your neck of the woods. So
yep,
you talk about first off, because you brought up a few things in your introduction here that I wanted to touch on. So Resident Evil, I'm a massive fan of Resident Evil.
Same.
Which one's your favorite?
Game or movie or both?
Game.
Resident Evil 3, hands fucking down.
Hell yes.
Hands down.
Hell yes.
The reason why I love Resident Evil 3 Nemesis is just because I felt like it had equal amounts part of action and horror, because you have the Nemesis following you constantly, but people say, what about Resident Evil 2? I was like, you have that one guy following you around. It's like, it's just not the same.
Yeah,
I feel like it wasn't the same. I think I felt like they improved on Resident Evil from Resident Evil 2, Resident Evil 3. It's just the freaky of hear the Nemesis yelling stars, and it gives you that heart attack. Like, oh my god, where the fuck is he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you got the constant of agitation of like, is he going to be around here, or is it going to be a zombie or a zombie dog or the liquor or whatever whatnot? It's just a simple of you have that unease of nowhere is safe.
Yeah.
But only thing that's safe is in that safe room. But is it going to be safe when you first walk out of that safe room?
Right.
Yep.
And that's big part of that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one thing that I wanted to do a part of this podcast is doing talking about survival, like different scenarios of surviving the apocalypse, because I go on Reddit and I see what other people write. Like they put down topics and I read off their comments and I give my opinion on their comment. People will say, oh, you're just a reactor. I'm like, yeah, maybe, but you know what? It's I was like, I can't get other people's opinions on how they will survive in that type of scenario without turning to a place that people would give their own opinions on that. Yeah. It's like, I can talk my head off, but will people, since I'm extremely small creator, nobody will comment or anything like that, so I could give their opinion on that type of topic.
Right.
So it's like, I can go on.
I don't see any issue with that. I mean, it seems kind of ridiculous for people to give you shit for that, because it's like there are entire channels that are entirely based off of just reading Reddit comments. And it's not like you're doing that. You're actually giving your input on it. It's not just you're farming the content and then reposting it as your own. So that seems like a kind of weird thing for people to nitpick to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you got these people out here doing "Am I the asshole?" posts. That's basically a fucking reacting to a story of a person's life.
That's it.
Don't get me wrong. I wrote in a couple of things. "Am I the asshole?" A couple of things, but it's just kind of like I done it because I needed some outside perspective, but yet I read some of those stories and just like holy shit. It's like I listened to a couple podcasters that do "Am I the asshole" kind of scenarios. It's just what do you call them? They're blind reacting to a fucking post, giving their opinion and stuff like that. Sometimes they turn to the comments.
It's true.
It's like, it's kind of like a battle,
Right. I mean, if people are going to nitpick that, then it's like, okay, what am I doing? I'm bringing people on the show to talk about their stuff and then farming their content from them. What are you talking about? That people need to get a little awareness of what people are doing with content creation nowadays, because there are channels that are strictly reaction.
Yeah,
that's all they do, and they're fucking hugely successful. I'm not nitpicking what they do, but I'm saying that there are channels that their entire basis is literally taking, having a bot read off what the comments are and just reposting that over and over and over. And that's just an entire channel. And
Yeah,
I'm not bashing them for that, but it's like at least what you're doing is a little more you.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I'm not bashing those channels that do that. Only channels I will fucking bash. I remember when I first joined TikTok a while ago, you see these fucking people sleeping and they donate money, try to quote unquote wake them up. I
Yep.
guarantee you they just put a fucking camera on them for one night and they just fucking record it and put it on a live stream so people can quote unquote wake them up. That shit kind of pisses me off. It's like, I guess, yeah, they're usually successful, but it's like people are just falling into that bullshit. It's just like, why?
This TikTok is a fucking weird place in general. I have still yet to fully understand the people over there. Every post that I put on there, I almost am just like, do I even want to post on this again? Because holy fuck.
Right.
There's good communities on there and stuff, and I know a lot of people that are on there that are very good, but there's general like TikTok population sometimes makes me really question what I'm doing. Well, hey, steering back to another one of the Resident Evil topics, because that was another one that I thought of. So as far as the movies, how do you I personally, and I'll say it right off the bat, I personally biggest fan of the original Resident Evil movie. Okay. I love that fucking movie to this day. But it's a guilty pleasure thing. I ain't even guilty about it. I enjoy that movie. And honestly, most of the other ones in the series, I can sit down and still just watch them and just have a good time if I just disconnect the actual game part of it. But there is a documentary coming out that's talking about George A. Romero's interpretation of Resident Evil that never got made.
No.
Have you heard about this?
No, I have not. What the fuck?
Okay,
No.
So that apparently was a thing. Is he was supposed to have done either, I don't know if it was a movie or if he was gonna have input on one of the games or what. I have yet to see the documentary. It's on my radar though, and I'm throwing that at you because you're probably going to want to check that out.
Oh, hell yeah. Because George Romero is like one of my freaking idols, man. Because he's the godfather of zombies, man. And I mean, he was a zombie on fucking Call of Duty Zombies. He was like one of the main monsters on there. And it's just like, I'm really want to know how he feels about the Resident Evil series, because not only this Resident Evil is not only just about zombies, it's about monsters too.
Yeah.
Like generally genetically massive genetically altered zombie, Yeah. And it's just they change into like a different type of monster. And if I done a little bit of research on Resident Evil, like about the different type of strands of the
T virus, G virus, the W virus. They have another one. The newer games, the Las Plagas. Like every game's got a new one, every couple at least.
Yes, and I think my favorite non-zombie virus was the Las Plagas.
Yeah,
I absolutely love the Las Plagas. Because it was cool as fuck. At first, I absolutely hated it because I wanted zombies. But it gave a new twist of the Resident Evil series, because I know there's only so much a person can handle or before they get too bored of the same thing. So they introduced the Las Plagas virus. Yeah. And I think they've done a wonderful job at introducing Las Plagas. Especially, the two characters, Chris Redfield and Sheva. Yeah. And I thought that game was I think Resident Evil 3 and Resident Evil 5 got to be my top Resident Evil games. I love the multiplayer aspect of Resident Evil 5 because my buddy and I played that game on the hardest difficulty and beat it. It was fucking hard.
Yeah, I played that with my fiance too. It was a really fun, just blast couch co-op of a Resident Evil game. That was something I wanted since I was a kid. Like,
Right, right.
back in the day with Resident Evil 1 and 2, was sitting around with my buddies sitting behind me as we were playing it in a dark room, and everybody's like getting ready to lose their shit. No, that's that 3 is definitely my favorite Resident Evil as well. As far as the games, there's just no topping that one for me. Every one of them I've played, I just always end up with that same idea in my head. I'm just like 3 Nemesis is the best of the best. I did enjoy the remake of 2 a lot, like to where I'd put it right up in the top of my list. But unfortunately, the remake of 3 I did not hit for me because the original Nemesis was so fucking good that there was not a way they were going to top it.
No.
But then Resident Evil 2, like the remake, did it so well. They had that tension with having Mr. X following you and shit that like it brought back that feeling I had from Nemesis. So it kind of made up for it in other ways. But then the remake of 3 just fell fucking flat for me. Like I beat it in like 4 hours, I think, and I was just absolutely I don't know, just not into it. Not my thing.
Yeah, I will admit, don't get me wrong, I had fun playing it, but I was hoping that it would be the same plot as the original Resident Evil 3. And when they changed the Nemesis, he just looked fucking ugly. It was like, it was not scary.
Yeah.
I felt like the original Nemesis was scarier than the new one. Everybody lost their fucking shit when they saw the new Nemesis. Everybody lost their fucking shit. It was like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, I knew it as soon as I saw the screenshots from it. I was like, this is gonna be rough.
Yeah, it was rough, honestly. And I've played a little bit of Resident Evil 2, the remake. And so far what I've played, I thought it was pretty excellent. But honestly, I this little secret between you and the hitchhikers. And if you guys tell anybody, I will send my zombie babies after your ass. Out in the woods.
Better watch out, we'll be invaded.
But I honestly was fucking terrified. And that I haven't felt in a very long time playing a zombie game. I will admit that. I felt scared, and like you said, I had that feeling when playing Resident Evil 3. I had that like, oh my god, what the fuck, you know?
Yeah, that hit hard for me. I was very into that one. And another, going back to what you were saying about how bad Nemesis looked, the funny part of that is that like I played Dead by Daylight, and they took the character model from the original Resident Evil and used that one instead of the new one because the new one fucking sucks so bad. So
yeah, and gee, I wonder why.
That says a lot. Yeah, it says a lot to me. As I was like, geez, you guys. I mean, they kept the new Wesker because new Wesker looks badass. But they got rid of like an old design of Nemesis, and they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna stick to this one." So I was happy with that. As a big fan of both games, I was like, "Good call." The other thing too, when we go and look at like zombie related stuff, there was one thing I was looking into because I wanted to have a little topic to get your take on. So I currently exists in an area that has one of the largest islands off the East Coast. It's a pretty strong argument to be made that where we have an island with only one bridge that goes on and off of it, it'd be a pretty fantastic stronghold for a zombie apocalypse, don't you think?
Yeah, I would think so.
Got plenty of food, fresh water, defensible locations, mountains and shit. There ain't no way. Plus, it gets cold enough in the winter. A lot of zombies like freeze and shit in that, extreme cold. Granted, the last couple of years, because of climate change and whatnot, hasn't been as cold as it once was, but I think it'd be a pretty good place to be.
Yeah, it is. And honestly, the coldest months in Wisconsin is in January and February. That's when it gets really super fucking cold. Yeah, the climate changed, obviously. It will change forever.
No going back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you go back from then until now, it happens.
Mhm.
And every so often it goes back to normal and stuff like that, but that's the way it is. I don't really want to hit that up because that's a different can of worms. So
Right.
I'm open.
Understandable that. Yeah, the whole thing with the, because I was looking up on Reddit, I was like, are there any zombie stories that do take place in Maine? So there was one that Stephen King wrote. It was part of an anthology that then he took later and put into one of his like short stories books. And I gotta remember the name of it now because it was a weird one that I had not heard before.
Is it The Cell?
No, it was a newer one that I have never heard of before. Home Delivery. Home Delivery was the name of it. It came out in apparently 1989. I had not ever heard of this one. Apparently, it was published in some zombie anthology book called The Book of the Dead. You ever heard that one?
Yeah, I actually did, but I never touched it before.
Oh, maybe worth checking out. Stephen King is, pretty good writer in general, but I have never heard his zombie works before. Honestly, like sticking
Hang
to the
on.
zombie topic for one more thing, because I love when zombie stuff kind of crosses over with other types of horror or other genres in general. So one of my favorite zombie pieces that I've ever read was a Star Wars book where there was a zombie virus that broke out on an Imperial prison ship. Have you ever heard that one?
May have.
I think it was like Death Star or something like that. It was an older book and it was before they did the reset of the canon. So this one was like, it would never happen nowadays. I can say that Disney would not have a piece of that, but it was a fucking fantastic book that just like, I dig when the zombie genre fits in so well with so many other pieces. I think that's what's really added to the longevity of zombies in popular media. Because like when I look back at my favorite zombie movies, and I definitely want to get your list of your like favorites, but one of my favorites is like as far as books is that, but then one of my favorite zombie movies is the movie Fido. And that one is more of a like zombie comedy slash like almost like family wholesome goodness like sort of thing. And it's weird because you would never think that like zombies that are all about eating flesh and tearing guts out of people in the George A. Romero movies could now 40 years later you'd see them in something like Shaun of the Dead where it's
Right.
like become comical to a degree. And I think that that's an interesting thing. What do you have any thoughts on that? Like mixing the genres?
I honestly think it's wonderful when they mix the genres because it makes them more fresh, um more different than just a continuous horror. Because one of my favorite movies is Shaun of the Dead. I absolutely love it because it's just so fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah.
But yet, um, you would never think a zombie movie could be so hilarious, but yet so horror at the same time. Because
Yeah.
you would never think comedy and horror can never go hand in hand and make it good. I mean, you can look at the Scream movies, but they're like rom-com. That's just not rom-com, but that's just like the
It's like the pop slasher sort of thing to me.
yeah. And it's just like you can make a good comedy movie, but adding horror to it, it just makes it complete garbage. It's just like you're just mainly making fun of it, which is fine. It's like I love the Scream movies, I
Yeah.
do, but when you put zombies in it, and Shaun of the Dead just made it, it was such a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
In my opinion, there's millions of people who love Shaun of the Dead.
Oh,
No
yeah.
one can top that movie, and for a horror, zombie horror comedy,
Yeah,
and
it's gone down as an instant classic. I really don't think that it's ever going to be replaced in that sort of a context.
oh fuck no. And I know there's more than a few people who try to do a comedy horror kind of thing, but it just feels like it's too unauthentic, and it just feels like it's too they're trying too hard and trying to make it like they're just making fun of the genre.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
which is fine. Which a lot, like I said before, the Scream movies are freaking hilarious,
sure,
but they want to add horror to it. I mean, there's got to be different ways of trying to make it
right.
good, but yet scary, but yet funny at the same time. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like good writers have been, it may be few and far between, but there is like a certain balance to it, to where like there can be like that good, level of authenticity on both sides. And you're right, it's a balance. It's definitely going to be something that, when you see a movie that lends itself better to that, would be like, Shaun of the Dead is a fantastic example. I'm a big fan of that one. Over the years, I've probably watched it about 1,000 times. Like, it's just one of those films I can always go back to and have a good time. But
Right.
then you look at some other like cross over that didn't go over so well. You have like the trying to think of the name of it, Warm Bodies, the
Oh,
zombie rom-com.
I honestly that was a good movie.
I enjoyed it. It was weird. It was
It was
very weird,
good.
but it was good. Yeah. I was like, wow. I was like, not at all what I expected this movie to be in the first place. But then by the
Right.
end of it, I was like, damn, they actually got that. I don't know how they figured that one out, but
I honestly think it's the effects and makeup,
Mhm.
because if you try to go for a comedy, they go with horrible makeup, the horrible
Oh
effects,
yeah, yeah.
and that's why I think Shaun of the Dead was so successful, because everything was top notch. Like the
Oh
makeup
yeah.
was good, the effects were good,
Yeah,
and
some of the zombies in that movie literally like could have easily been off straight off of like The Walking Dead or something like that. Like they were
exactly.
very good practical effects.
And there's like I know there's another horror comedy, but the zombies look like garbage. Like you just threw up Halloween makeup and call it good. Oh, it's
Yeah,
just fucking zombie. No,
yeah,
you gotta have it look good and stuff like that.
right. Why is your zombie fucking green? Like, what the fuck is that? Like,
Exactly.
Uh, yeah, that it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I did enjoy the movie too. I think it had a lot to do with the way that they did it, and it was also an interesting take on the zombie story, right? Because
Right.
it's not your typical they got bit, they turned into a zombie, and then that's it. It had a little more depth to the lore behind it, and I think that helps a lot when it comes to zombie stuff, which is what it's really led to its longevity in media over the years.
Exactly. And they also had like the parts that are supposed to be scary, they made it scary. And the
Mhm.
parts that are supposed to be romantic, they had them romantic, but yet it became romantic that it became scary, not just be like, oh, we're making out and here's a zombie just standing there watching, kind of like
Right.
jerking it off or whatever, you know. No, it's actually they made it like this part's supposed to be scary. Let's make it scary. Oh, this part's supposed to be funny. This is the funny part. As horror and zombie and romantic, and it's just the
Yeah.
parts that are supposed to be funny, they made it funny. The parts that are supposed to be romantic, they made it romantic. The parts supposed to be scary, it was scary, but they add a little bit of like I know there's one part the guy was getting attacked eating like the zombie, like the
Yeah.
person's brain, and you see the carnage all around them. And it's just so they combined it and they made it so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like nowadays you don't have that. I think if people actually tried to make a actually good like comedy horror, they can do it.
Yeah.
You know, but
It's all on the director, really. I mean, what
yeah,
how they go about it is kind of one of those things, and I think that they kind of had a story they wanted to tell, and that's the important part. They're not just mocking it. They're not just trying to do a parody of something else. They had their own story in mind, and
mhm.
I think that's why those work so well. So, switching gears a little bit away from zombies, but now into your neck of the woods as far as you know we talked a little on your show about cryptids and stuff, and
Yes.
we talked about the Wisconsin ones a little bit. I gave some of the info on the main related ones, like the Wendigo. We share that. They're
Yep, we share
pretty
the Wendigo.
similar, pretty similar in style. Why don't you tell me about one of your best known local Wisconsin cryptid is the hodag there.
Ooh, the hodag. I did a little bit of research. Okay, as growing up, the hodag, I thought it was just like mainly like a country get together, big old country um fair, like a whole bunch of concerts happen, the big names come around, and it's like a big old festival, like a 3-day
Yeah,
festival and
because you
stuff like
have a
that.
hodag festival out there.
Yeah, exactly. So I was growing up, I didn't realize the hodag was a cryptid. And so I've done a little bit of research. The hodag went back from the late 1800s, if I'm not mistaken, between 1850 to 1890. What happened was loggers were in the woods doing some like cutting down trees, because up in north in Rhinelander, that's where the origins came from, in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, which is up north. A whole bunch of loggers came around and they seen this lizard-like creature with long horns and red eyes and sharp, long teeth.
Yeah.
And they didn't know what the fuck it was. And so they got together, these loggers got together and told the story of this creature that was like bigger than a dog, but smaller than a bear. And we don't have any lizard-like type creatures in Wisconsin. So,
yeah.
But the story says the hodag was said to be born from the ashes of cremation oxen, as an incarnation of the accumulation of abuse of the animals has suffered at the hands of their masters. The history of the hodag is strongly tied to Rhinelander, Wisconsin, where it was claimed to have been discovered. Which, yeah, because the main thing is was in Rhinelander, the hodag and stuff was in there. So apparently,
so I know they had like an actual like picture back in the day of the hodag supposedly that they had caught.
Yeah, it's a hodag captured, but the guy's name was by Eugene Shepard in 1893. And you can tell if you look at this picture, it's fake as hell.
It's pretty sus, yeah. Even for the times, I think anybody that looked at that on a fucking newspaper should have probably had a second look at that. And
there's another picture of the hodag too, and it looks kind of suspicious, man. But of course, back then they're like everybody's like, oh, like, oh, this weird ass looking creature, holy shit. Yeah. But I'm going to read you guys origins of the hodag. Yes. In 1893, newspapers reported the discovery of a hodag in Rhinelander, Wisconsin. The articles claimed the hodag had the head of a frog, the grin face of a giant elephant, thick, short legs set off by huge claws, the back of a dinosaur, and a long tail with a spear at the end. The reports were instigated by well-known Wisconsin land surveyor Timber Cruiser and prankster Eugene Shepard, who rounded up a group of local people to capture the animal. The group reported that they needed to use dynamite to kill the beast. A photograph of the remains of the charred beast was released to the media. It was, quote unquote, the fiercest, strongest, most frightening monster has ever set to razor sharp claws on Earth. It became extinct after its main food source. All white bulldogs became source in the area. So that right there, Eugene was a prankster. But the locals were like, after a while, they were like, okay, dude, it's all fake. But as Wisconsinites, they said, you know what? We don't have anything to celebrate on. So they just made the hodag, and they made it into like a big old
it's a cultural event now.
Yes.
It's become a part of Wisconsin lore and culture, whether it's real or not.
Exactly.
And sometimes that's a really cool story in and of itself, the fact that it can be something that wasn't even an actual thing, but then your culture or your like town or your state or whatever still does a thing. We have something similar here where we have this buck monument in Bucksport near me. It's probably 45-minute drive from me. And it's a thing that's been fully explained. We already know the reasons and the legends and the lore behind it and everything like that. But we still have an annual festival that's based in Bucksport that's all about that sort of stuff. And it's just a cool thing that we still do friggin', 25 years later since they started the whole thing.
Right.
And sometimes those, like you said, we don't have anything else, right? Just have fun with it.
Exactly. I'm going to read you the legacy of the Hodag.
Yeah.
The Hodag became the official symbol of Rhinelander, Wisconsin. It is the mascot of Rhinelander High School, and it lends its name to numerous Rhinelander area businesses or organizations, including the annual music festival, Hodag Country Festival. The city of Rhinelander's website called Rhinelander, the home of the Hodag, a larger-than-life fiberglass sculpture of the Hodag created by Tracy Gobberville, a local artist, resides on the grounds of Rhinelander Area Chamber of Commerce, where it drives thousands of visitors each year. Rhinelander Ice Arena houses two Holdags, one full-body creature just inside the entrance, and the other one, an oversized head that blows smoke and has red eyes that light up, located just in a corner just off the ice, which was created by the same artist who designed and built the Chamber Hodag. So I think it's really awesome to have. Okay, Rhinelander isn't a big town; it's actually a small town.
Yeah,
and I've been to Rhinelander. I say it's like maybe small, medium-sized town, and it's a nice town, but it's an up north town.
Sure,
and it's an hour and a half away from me. The population is a little over 8,000 people.
Yeah.
So it's a small town considerably.
Right.
And I think to like read more into about the Hodag, it's just such an amazing thing because you wouldn't think, like growing up in Wisconsin, I never really think it's like, oh, you hear like Maine and California and Texas, like
sure.
You hear like all these stories and like movies come from Wisconsin. Movies come from not Wisconsin, but California.
TV shows.
Yeah, TV shows. What's the main? California, Texas, Atlanta, fucking sometimes Maine. Because if you think about it, think to Stephen King. Pet Cemetery came from Maine.
Yeah, kind of put us on the map.
Yeah, put you guys on the map. So thanks to him, he put Maine on the map.
Sure.
And so there's stories come out of Maine, stories come out from New York and stuff like that. You don't hear anything from Wisconsin.
Yeah,
you know.
The one thing that I always think of when I think of Wisconsin, because I grew up on Nick at Night, was Happy Days.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
The one that is like the only reference I have to anything Wisconsin. And the
70s shows too.
Yeah, okay.
Wisconsin!
That's right. Okay, that's the other one I was trying to remember. I'm glad that you mentioned that because I was bugging myself earlier because I was like, I know there's another really big show that was done there, and that's the one. Because you had Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, that 70s show. That's which fucking great shows to have in your home state, dude. I gotta say, I'm a big fan of all three. So I looked up a couple of other cryptids, and there was one, and I know I mentioned it to you when you had sent me your you sent me a little list of Wisconsin cryptids, which you had some pretty good ones on there, and we've talked about the Wendigo before, but there was one in particular that jumped out at me immediately.
That was the Phantom Chicken.
Yeah, dude. And that one, I actually did a little bit of reading on that just to check it out. And I was able to find an article from the Green Bay Press Gazette that actually mentions it. Okay. Yep. So here's what I found on the thing. Sure. The bizarre phantom chickens of Seymour. Supposedly, there are ghostly chickens haunting the corner of Chicken Alley and Shady Road near Seymour. The story goes like this. People driving through the intersection report that chickens appear, but then mysteriously disappear just before a car hits them. Admittedly, this legend doesn't come with a slew of eyewitnesses, nor are ghost hunters lined up to conduct overnight investigations at the corner of Chicken Alley and Shady Road, nor are there solid origin details. Dan Higgins wrote in a story for the Green Bay Press Gazette in 2017. The legend includes a disembodied voice yelling at people to get out of the intersection if they linger too long. Unlike other Wisconsin cryptids, the phantom chickens haven't really endured through the passing of time, but they have inspired a tongue-in-cheek post on a geocaching website that includes a picture of Casper the Ghost in the middle of the crossroads. So there's not a ton of info. It's one of those ones that it seems like it happened. It was kind of a period of time where people were probably like misidentifying stuff, but it sounded hilarious to me just from the title, because we have a specter moose in Maine, and that's got like a long and storied lore to it and everything like that. But there's a big difference between that and a friggin' chicken that's going to make you go off the road because you think that you're about to run into a flock, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That'd be like fucking really fucked up to think about. You know, it's like you just drive along at night, and all of a sudden you see a fucking chickens going across the road. That gives another. There's a joke.
Yeah, like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Hey, it very well could be. This one didn't cross to the other side, right? So
right. It's like, why did the phantom chicken go across the road? To scare the fuck out of you. That's why.
Exactly. And also, you know, you think there's plenty of stories of ghost humans all over the world, right? We've all heard the stories of that. And every once in a while you hear one of it's ghost dog, a ghost cat. Sometimes I had a story of one of those myself. But then you look, never see a ghost chicken before. So you guys have a one of a kind, possibly. I haven't found one yet, but you have a one of a kind cryptid or phantom presence, some sort of entity out there. So I think that's pretty friggin' awesome. And it's very Wisconsin flavored, I think.
Oh yeah, oh for sure, 100%. Because obviously, Wisconsin is a farm-rich state, and we have chickens, cows, whatever, whatnot.
Yeah,
we're the dairy state, so anything dairy,
right,
more than likely came from Wisconsin. You know, you got your cheese, you got your milk, you got your eggs, you got your butter, and whatever, whatnot. And I think chickens really do fit the bill for Wisconsin for sure.
For sure. I'm surprised there isn't like a ghost cow or something out there, though. I haven't found one of those yet. If you ever hear one of those, you got to let me know, because that's got to be a thing out that way.
Right. So I'm going to list off all the list of cryptids of Wisconsin. One says Beast of Bray Road, the Cumberland Beast.
Very famous one.
Well, the Beast of Bray
Beast
Road.
of Bray Road. That's a very famous one.
Is it really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a whole documentary about it, actually. A very good one. Yeah. I'll send it to you after the show.
Oh, fuck yeah. The Cumberland Beast, the Eau Claire Beast, Nose of Field. That's another funny one.
Yeah.
The Hunchies, the whole day. We just covered that.
Yep.
The Kettle Moran Goatman. Goatman is pretty popular and everywhere.
Yeah, we got a goat man up here too. Ours wears a flannel shirt.
That's
like the only fucking difference. I swear to God, that's it. It wears a plaid shirt.
The Ridrick Swamp, what's it? That's what I said? Yeah, what's it?
That sounds right.
Kidrick Swamp, what's it? That's funny.
It sounds right to me. That sounds like one of those fearsome critter types ones that somebody fucking, some lumberjack or some shit probably came up with.
Right. The Lake Winnebago Water Monster. I did hear about the Lake Winnebago Water Monster. I haven't gotten into it, but I heard of it because I live near Lake Winnebago a while ago. Yeah. I just heard about it, and that's about it. Then you got the Rocky, the Phantom Chickens we just covered, the Mineral Point Vampire. Ooh, hey, we got a vampire here.
Hell shit. Damn, that's pretty awesome.
The Boston Burn Man. The Man-Faced Pig of Door County. Bear Pig!
Yeah, dude. You guys got some awesome ones out there, I'd say. That's pretty great.
The Stenthal Beast. Thunderbirds. The I don't have no I say. The Gila of Devil's Lake. Looks like a for the picture of it, looks like a what the hell is that one creature in the lake?
Nessie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of looks like that.
Monster, kind of, yeah.
Loch Ness, yeah. Then obviously the Wendigo.
Yes, that's perhaps one of your like I think Wendigo is basically most of North America because every time I see like worldwide cryptid things, that's always the one that they put on, just like anything north of Mexico. And
Right.
Mexico just has the chupacabra. Yeah, the Beast of Bray Road, that one's a very well known one. I've heard about that because we had a similar instance to that up here actually.
Yeah.
Maybe cousins or something, who knows. The Eau Claire Beast, I've heard of that one. That was a weird one. The Goat Man, like I said, we have one of those up here. Thunderbirds, we had something similar in our Abenaki folklore, but I think that was more of a Algonquin thing. And like out west, there was a lot of tribes that talked about Thunderbirds, but
Mm-hmm.
not so much in the Northeast. So that's a really cool one.
Right.
Rocky kind of reminds me of an iguana. If I'm like, maybe it's like a monitor lizard or something like that.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking too, because it does remind me of like an iguana. But
Yeah,
I think it's such a rare thing because iguanas cannot survive in Wisconsin
no
because of a
way.
cold
No
climate.
fucking way. Yeah, no. And that's another one that's kind of like the Hodag. It's weird that they're actually like, in the same place because that they almost could be similar, style of cryptid. That's really weird. Uh yeah, you guys got some cool ones out there. I definitely enjoy hearing about them, and I've been a big fan of cryptozoology most of my life. So every time that I talk to somebody that's got some really unique ones in their region, I always like to have a little discussion about those. And you have some fucking neat ones. I really dig the phantom chicken one. We have the similarities there with certain animals, so that's cool.
Honestly, I think I should come back on and we can talk more about more of the Wisconsin cryptids too, because
Absolutely.
honestly, I don't have much time left because I need to get back to work.
No, I totally get you. I totally get you.
But yeah,
So
I'm
yeah.
going to do a quick story like I told you before.
Yeah, let's do that, and then you can plug your shit before we get done.
Hell yeah. So I told you this before we started recording. If you guys, like I said before, we both talked about our experiences with the paranormal. And one story I did not say to anybody. I did record about my experience with this type of thing, but I haven't published it yet. There's one part of the show I talk about like guardian angels and something that happened. I was suicidal at one point in time in my life, and I had a voice saying, "Don't do it. You got so much to live for." I felt like it was a guardian angel. So this happened like, Christ, like 7-8 years ago. I was dropping my son off back at his mom's, and I was drinking a soda. And, you get those air bubbles in your esophagus because of carbonation. And it hurt a lot. I passed out. I was going 65 down the highway.
My God.
Yes. And I was in the far right lane, and my car drifted all the way past the medium into the oncoming traffic onto the other shoulder of the highway. I don't remember anything. Only thing I kind of remember was bumps. Then all of a sudden I came to. I was perfectly fine, safe on the other side of the highway with a pop tire. My son was in the back, kind of like, what the fuck was going on? Because he's only like a year old.
Yeah.
He didn't know what's going on.
Yeah. Just all of a sudden they were going for a trip.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, what the fuck happened? During that time, I felt like people could say it was just maybe muscle memory that happened. Or maybe it was just like your subconsciously knew what's going on. And there's only so much that you were doing to keep yourself and your son safe. But listen to this. I was out and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. I had no control of the vehicle because I felt like I was paralyzed.
Right.
But I safely went across the highway. Thank God no traffic was coming because I could have been killed and my son and I could have been killed.
Right.
But somehow I went across the medium and down through the ditch and the medium onto the other side of the highway safe. I call it, I swear to God, a freaking guardian angel was watching over me and my son.
I mean,
that
you
day.
can't help but think something like that when it's that extreme of an instance. I mean, well, first of all, unlocking a new fear for me because I've had that bubbling drink a Coke or something really fast. You just pop the can, you take a sip of it because you're thirsty. All of a sudden, it starts fizzing back up, and you feel like you're gonna die. You actually almost did. And that's fucking wild because I've never thought that I could just pass out from that. Now I'm terrified that's going to happen sometime.
Yeah, I pass out because I don't know if because of the pain or because I couldn't get air in my lungs.
Yeah.
And I from then on, I'm so careful taking drinks while I'm driving. I don't down it if I'm thirsty. I just take nice little drinks.
Yep.
Because I don't want this shit to happen. If I'm like at home, whatever, yeah, game on, whatever.
Yeah, right. But, chug the bottle. It's all good.
Exactly. But if I'm driving, especially when I have my kids in my car,
oh yeah,
I'm taking sips, I'm taking nice drinks, or I'm drinking out of a straw. Because I told my aunt that. She's like, that happened to me, but not driving, but the pain in your chest, whatever, because of the bubble. She said she drinks from straws.
Yep. That'll do it because it takes out the carbonation of it. So
exactly.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's definitely it's. I don't care, you're religious or not. Some people are, some people aren't. They all have their own opinions on stuff. But at least when you have something like that happen, you kind of have to look at things and you kind of have to wonder if there is something more to it.
Yeah.
Because it's such an extreme thing. And so many things have to go exactly right or exactly wrong for that certain set of events to happen. So, I mean, to be honest, dude, glad that you made it, of course. Otherwise we wouldn't have been able to, meet and chat and talk about all this, creepy, cool shit. I'm glad that you and your son made it out of that unscathed because that could have been a terrifying and tragic situation all over like a bottle of pop, right? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You guys say pop out there, right? Is that you're in one of the regions that say pop?
Yeah, we do say pop. But my God, I almost just saw a kid almost got fucking pelted. Holy fuck.
Oh no.
Dude, holy shit.
Goddamn. The uncanny timing of that shit too, right?
Wow, I think they were like, I see their parents going across the road. Holy fuck. Thankfully, the guy stopped in time. And I mean, I get it. It's like, kids, you need to watch where the fuck you're going. Holy shit, that was scary. I did not want it to be others. Oh my God, I saw a kid get hit.
Yeah, right. That would have been the worst. Oh man, you want to talk about some fucking clicks on that shit? Oh my lord! Like I would have had to cut. Yeah, no. Yeah.
They don't look both ways. I almost fucking pelted a couple of them because they're like, "Oh, I have the right of way. I'm going to be like going across the street." Motherfuckers look both ways, you fucking idiots.
Yeah, people need to freaking learn traffic laws instead of fucking putting everybody else around them at risk. We have the same issue here. We don't even have a college nearby to me, and it's just as fucking bad as could possibly be because people are just ignorant on the roads now.
The thing is, if you hit a person, you're automatically at fault.
Yep.
That's stupid. Fucking stupid.
It is because, I mean, what the hell incentive it is it? Especially looking at it nowadays. It's like realistically, oh, hey, I walk out in the road and I never have to worry about working again, or it's not my problem anymore.
Exactly.
What the fuck do you have to lose? It's kind of a dumb setup they come up with there.
Right.
But hey, man, well, I know you need to get back to work. You're a busy man as always. You got kids, you got a job, you're on that grind. I appreciate everything that you do. I appreciate you coming on the show today. Anything you want to plug before we get done?
Oh, hell yeah. I like to plug something in. Not a butt plug, but a plug. But you can find me on ZombPocalypse Podcast on all your favorite listening platforms. I am also on Instagram. You can find me on ZombPocalypse Pod. And also, you can find me on Facebook. I try to be active on those platforms, but it's really hard for me. I just mainly post like when the new episodes come out, I try to post some random shit too. I'm also on YouTube. You can look me up on ZombPocalypse. I do post, I redo, like I take shorts from TikTok and I share them on YouTube as a short because I feel like if it's zombie related, I will do that. Sure. And the thing is, I don't take out their watermark. I don't take out the ending where it says where you can find that creator, because I just feel like it's their video. They created. That's their thing.
Yep,
I just
exactly.
I wanted to share it because I think it's a really good thing to have. And also, we do have a Discord. It's called the Brain Munchers Discord. It has Ollie Eats Brains, Zombie Book Club. It has Stephanie from Listeners of the Dead. It has a whole bunch of authors on there. We have 39 people strong, and
Nice
you have
little
me
zombie community. That's awesome.
It is. And if you'd like to join, I'll send you the link. And also, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to thank you for having me on here. And I am super happy that I came on here and talked about a little bit of Wisconsin cryptids.
Hell yeah.
And man, I really appreciate everything. So, yeah, that's all I think I can say. Oh, one last thing too, I'll let you plug. Darren Smith from the Undead Symphony has published his first book. You can find it on Kindle, so just type in the Undead Symphony. They do have a podcast also called the Undead Symphony. So once you go on Kindle, give them some love. It's a wonderful book. I'm listening to it right now. So yeah, I just definitely had to spread the word, because
give him a shout out.
Exactly. The Undead Symphony has been a big supporter of this podcast, and everyone in the zombie community been a big supporter here. And also now I have another big supporter, which is you. I do appreciate you, Reverend Redbeard. I appreciate you being a big supporter.
We'll definitely be having more chats in the near future, because you and I have some good conversations, whatever show we're on. There's plenty to always be talked about, whether it be zombies or cryptids or anything like that. I think we have a good relationship when it comes to that stuff, so we'll keep it going. Well, dude, man, I very much appreciate you coming on today. I thank you for everything. I will put links in the description and all that stuff for anybody that wants to check out what you're doing. Make sure to follow him when you get this video out. It'll probably be another week or two before it goes up from the date of recording. But as soon as you do, hopefully we'll send a bunch of people your way and get you a little boost in that algorithm at the same time. We'll see how that works out. Well, dude, as always, everybody, this is the Reverend Redbeard. Thank you for listening to Acadia After Dark. Stay safe out there. Talk soon.
Don't let the zombies bite.
That's right.